My name is Arthur Finch. I'm 91, and I've just realized I wasn't a father to my kids. I was just a bank account, a safety net. For 70 years, I got it all wrong. Let me tell you what happened. It started with a promise. I met Eleanor in 1953. I promised her she'd never want for anything. I meant it. So I worked. I took a job at the plant. I kissed her goodbye in the dark and came home after the kids were asleep. I missed baseball games and school plays. I thought if I gave them things, that was love. A bigger house, a piano, college tuition. I paid for everything. The phone calls were just lists of what they needed. I'd write a check and feel like a good dad. Then Eleanor died. That was 2001. The house got very quiet. A month later, my son Michael called. He didn't ask how I was. He asked about his mother's life insurance money. He had a business idea. My daughter Claire called next. She needed a lawyer for her divorce. I said yes. I always said yes. That's when the real withdrawals started. Business debts, bad husbands, grandchildren's trusts. I was a human ATM. They'd say, "Thanks, Dad, you're a lifesaver." I clung to that word, Dad. The big wake-up came last year. I fell and broke my hip. The hospital called them. Michael was on a trip. Claire was busy. They hired a nurse with my money. She was kind, but she was paid to be. They called to ask if the nurse was working out. They meant, was their money being spent well, not was I okay. That's when I finally saw it, the transaction. I got out all my old files, ledgers of my life. I found birthday cards they gave me, to the best dad. But the messages inside were empty, generic. The cards to Eleanor were full of inside jokes and real memories. Mine were just receipts. So I tested it. I called a meeting. I said I might sell the house, move somewhere smaller, change the will. They panicked. Not about me being lonely. About the net falling. The market's bad, Dad. Where will we have Thanksgiving? Michael talked about asset loss. Claire worried about stability. No one asked if I'd be happier. They were talking about preserving the bank. I just listened, and I knew. I saw my lawyer yesterday. I'm rewriting everything. The money goes to a scholarship fund in Eleanor's name. The kids get a little, but not enough to live on. I'm cutting the net down. Maybe now they'll learn to stand on their own. Or maybe they'll fall. But they'll have to learn to get back up. I never taught them that. I only taught them to call for a check. That's my real regret. Don't make my mistake. Be present, not just a provider. Give your time, not just your wallet. That's the only legacy that matters. That's the only legacy that matters. But you see, I didn't know that then. I thought I was doing right. After that meeting where they panicked about me selling the house, I felt clear, like a fog had lifted. I went to bed that night, and for the first time I didn't feel guilty. I felt sad, but it was a clean sad. I knew what I had to do. The next morning I called my lawyer, Mr. Gable. He's been my lawyer for 40 years. He knew Eleanor. I went to his office. It smelled like old paper and coffee. I sat down and I said, "Frank, I need to change everything." He looked at me over his glasses. "The will, Arthur?" I said, "All of it." I told him my plan, the foundation for trades kids in Eleanor's name, just a modest amount for Michael and Claire, selling the house. He got very quiet. He tapped his pen. "Arthur," he said, "this is final, and it will cause a reaction. Are you prepared for that?" I told him I was 91. What was I waiting for? He nodded. He said, "Okay, let's draw it up." Then I saw my financial man, David. Younger guy, very smart. I showed him the papers. He whistled low. "This is a significant restructuring, Mr. Finch." He started talking about tax implications and asset liquidation. I just listened. My mind was somewhere else. It was on a soda fountain in 1953. Eleanor's laugh. The feel of Michael's tiny hand in mine when he was learning to walk. The smell of Claire's hair after her bath when she was little. Those were the real things. I'd traded them for stock portfolios and trust funds. David asked me a question. I didn't hear him. "I'm sorry," I said. "What was that?" He smiled a little. I said, "Are you sure?" I looked him right in the eye. "I have never been more sure of anything," I said. And I meant it. I signed the papers a week later. My hand shook a little. Just old age, not doubt. Frank had a witness, a young woman from his office. She smiled at me like I was a cute old man doing something sweet. She didn't know she was witnessing the end of a 70-year mistake. When I put the pen down, I felt tired, but a good tired, like after you finished a long, hard job. I decided not to tell the kids right away. Let the paperwork be solid first. But life has a way of forcing your hand. 2 days after I signed, Claire showed up at the house, unannounced. She had my granddaughter Sophia with her. Sophia's 15 now, all long legs and headphones. Claire was holding a folder. She gave me a quick hug. It felt stiff. "Hi, Dad. We were in the neighborhood. Sophia has a debate tournament at the high school." Sophia gave me a little wave and looked at her phone. Claire got right to it. "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about something. About Sophia's college fund. The one you set up." She opened the folder. It was spreadsheets. "With the market changes, I've been looking at the allocations. I think we should move it to a more aggressive growth model. The advisor you use is, well, he's conservative, like you." She smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was a negotiating smile. "I've done some research. If we shift the assets, we could potentially increase the final value by 30% by the time she's 18. It just needs your signature to make the changes." I looked at her, my daughter. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her clothes were expensive. I'd paid for all of it. I thought about her at 5 years old, covered in mud, showing me a worm. Where did that girl go? She was talking about asset allocations. I felt a heavy weight in my chest. This was it, the net in action. She wasn't asking me about my week. She wasn't asking about my hip. She was here to manage an asset. I was just the signature on the check. I took a slow breath. "Claire," I said. My voice was quiet. "We need to talk about all of that, but not today. Today, let's just have some lemonade. How's the debate team going, Sophia?" Sophia looked up, surprised I'd spoken to her. Claire's smile froze. She closed the folder slowly. "Dad, the paperwork is time sensitive. The market window." I held up my hand. "Just a little." "Lemonade," I said again. "Please." The room got very quiet. Claire looked at me like she didn't know me. And maybe she didn't. Maybe she never had. She looked at me like she didn't know me. And maybe she didn't. Maybe she never had. That look, that frozen smile, it did something to me. It broke something open. I said, "Lemonade." And she just stared. Sophia was watching us now, the phone forgotten in her lap. Claire closed the folder with a sharp snap. "Fine," she said. Her voice was tight. "Lemonade would be lovely." She said it like it was a ridiculous chore. I went to the kitchen. My hands were shaking. I got out the pitcher, the glasses. I could hear them in the other room. Claire's voice, a low hiss. "Just be polite for an hour, okay?" And Sophia's whisper back, "God, Mom, I am. This is so awkward." I stood there at the counter holding a glass, and I felt a pain so deep it wasn't in my body. It was in my soul. I served the lemonade. We sat in the sunroom. The silence was thick. Claire took a sip. "So, Dad, the market window. Can we talk about it now?" I put my glass down. It clicked on the table. "No," I said. "We can't." She blinked. "What do you mean?" I looked at my granddaughter. "Sophia, do you know what your grandfather does? Who I am?" She shifted, uncomfortable. "You're retired?" "But before that," I said, "what did I do for work?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Business stuff?" Claire cut in. "Dad, what is this?" I ignored her. I kept looking at Sophia. "I worked in a manufacturing plant. I was a foreman. I made sure machines ran and people did their jobs. I worked 60-hour weeks for 40 years. Sophia just nodded, not understanding. Why are you telling her this? Claire's voice was getting higher. Because she doesn't know me. I said it louder than I meant to. The room went still. And you don't either. You know my account numbers. You know my signature. You don't know that I hate lobster, or that I still miss your mother every single day, or that my hip aches when it rains. You've never asked. Claire's face went pale, then red. That's not fair. We're busy. We have lives. You were always working. You taught us this. And there it was, the truth thrown right at me. She was right. I taught them this. I built this system. I was the architect of my own loneliness. I felt all the air leave the room. You're right, I whispered. I did. I looked at her, my little girl, all grown into this stranger. I'm sorry. I am so sorry I wasn't there. I thought the money was love. I was wrong. Claire stood up. Her eyes were shiny, not with tears of sadness, but of anger. You can't say that now. You can't apologize and then, what, pull the rug out? That money, that security, that's the language you spoke. We learned it. And now you're changing the rules? Sophia was crying quietly. Claire grabbed her purse and the folder. Come on, Sophia, we're leaving. She walked to the door. She stopped, her back to me. You want to know the cost, Dad? The cost is this. It's a daughter who sees a problem and thinks Dad can fix it. It's a granddaughter who thinks you're an ATM with a kind face. You bought our dependence, and now you're complaining about the price. The door closed, not a slam, a soft final click. I sat there. The lemonade glasses were still full, sweating on the table. The sun was too bright. I put my head in my hands, and I cried. I cried for Eleanor. I cried for the baseball games I missed. I cried for the little girl covered in mud who I traded for a spreadsheet. I cried until I was empty. The house was quiet again, but this quiet was different. It wasn't just empty, it was honest. This was what I had built, this silence. This was the real inheritance. I sat there for a long time, until the sun moved across the floor. I was devastated. But in that devastation there was a terrible, clear understanding. I saw the whole chain from my promise to Eleanor right to this moment. I created the net, and I was the one tangled in it, alone. They were right to be angry. I made them this way. The cost wasn't just my loneliness. It was their freedom. I never taught them to be strong. I taught them to be customers. And that is the deepest regret of my life. It hurt more than the broken hip, more than the grief. This was the pain of seeing your own life's work and realizing it was all wrong. That pain, the one of seeing your life's work was all wrong. It doesn't go away, but it changes. It softens from a sharp stab into a dull ache, a constant reminder. And in that ache, you find the lessons. They're not complicated. They're simple, brutal truths I was too busy to see. Here's what I learned sitting in this quiet house. Love isn't a transaction. It can't be deposited or withdrawn. I thought my love was in the checks I signed, the tuitions I paid. But love is in the minutes. It's in the boring, ordinary, unbillable hours. The Saturday morning pancakes I was too tired to make. The bedtime story I was too late to read. The drive to college I paid for, but didn't take. I outsourced my presence and called it provision. I was wrong. What does love require then? It's not grand. It's showing up physically, emotionally, messily. It's listening to the story about the boring coworker without thinking about the quarterly report. It's holding your granddaughter's hand and not knowing a thing about her trust fund. It's letting your children see you fail, be scared, be unsure, so they learn it's okay to be human, not just a success machine. I never showed them my doubts. I only showed them my solutions, which always had a price tag. I performed being a rock, and in doing so, I taught them that rocks don't have feelings. Rocks don't need comfort. Rocks just provide shelter. But people aren't rocks, and shelter isn't the same as a home. So my advice, especially if you're my age, if you've spent a lifetime building what you thought was a legacy, stop performing. Just be there. Put down the phone when they're talking. Cancel the meeting for the school play. Say, I don't know, instead of I'll fix it. Let them see you cry. It's not weakness. It's the bravest thing you can do. It invites them in. My biggest mistake was believing my value was in my utility. I made myself a tool, a financial tool, and then was heartbroken when I was treated like one. Don't do that. Your value is in your laugh, your memories, your imperfect advice, your quiet company on a Tuesday afternoon. Start giving that away, today, right now. Call them, not to solve a problem, just to hear their voice. Ask a question that doesn't have a dollar sign in it. What made you smile today? What's worrying you? And then just listen. Don't offer a solution. Offer your attention. That's the currency that never devalues. Is there hope after all this? I think so. It's a different hope than I used to have. It's not hope for a reunited family, for grateful children suddenly seeing the light. That's a fairy tale. My hope is simpler. It's that in dismantling the net, I'm offering them one last real gift. The gift of their own strength. They might never thank me for it. They might be angry for the rest of my days. But perhaps, years from now, when they face a crisis and there's no check coming, they'll dig deep and find a resilience they never knew they had. And in that moment, they'll be free. That's my hope. And for myself, the hope is peace. The warmth I feel now isn't the sun. It's the relief of no longer living a lie. I am Arthur Finch. I was a foreman, a husband, a man who tried his best with the wrong blueprint. And now I'm just a man sitting in the sun, finally understanding what matters. You still have time. Maybe not years, but now is enough. This moment, this realization is enough to change what's left. Start with honesty. Start with presence. It's the only foundation that doesn't crumble. If this story, my confession, has resonated with you, if you see a piece of your own life in my quiet house, then do something with that feeling. Don't let it just be a sadness you carry. Let it be a catalyst. First, help this message reach others who need to hear it. Subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you're telling me these hard, human truths are worth sharing, and you'll be notified when I post new stories that aim to unravel the complexities of family and regret. Turn on notifications so you don't miss them. If this made you think, if it stirred something, tap the like button. It's a simple gesture, but it tells the algorithm that content with heart deserves to be seen. Now I want to hear from you. This isn't a one-way street. In the comments, tell me, what is one small, non-financial gift you can give your family this week? A shared memory, an uninterrupted hour, a long-held story finally told. Let's start a conversation about what real legacy looks like. And if you know someone, a parent, a friend, a spouse, who is confusing their wallet with their worth, please share this video with them. Do it gently. Say, "This made me think of us, of how much I value your time." Sharing this could be the start of a different kind of talk. Finally, if you have a story of your own, a moment of realization, a regret, a lesson learned too late, consider sharing it. There's a story submission form linked below. Your experience, your voice, could be the light for someone else walking a similar path. We learn from each other. We heal by telling our truths. And for those who want to sit with these ideas longer, I've included a link to one of my favorite books on the subject in the description. A quiet, profound read about presence over presence. But the most important book is the one you're writing with your life every day. Make the next chapter count.